Welcome back to Mostly Growth, the #1 podcast in product monetization. I have a question for you guys. Have you ever hit a drive in golf that hasn't made it past the ladies' tees?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Probably every time I go out.
What punishment do you have when you do that?
It was not near school or playground or anything. Just want to say that. I had to finish the rest of the hole playing my underwear.
The way I've done it is like you just have to do that to hit your ball, and then you're good.
I'm not very good at golf, so by the end, I was completely nude.
Oh, man. Super embarrassing, but that cracks me up. We're here to talk about a fantasy startup draft, and we'll get into that. But this is modeled after, fantasy football. We've got March Madness. We've got, all the fantasies. But what I always love is like when you don't bet for money, when you bet for a dare and someone has to take a punishment if they lose. So what are some of your favorites?
I got so many of these. I bet Ben's got a couple too. There's this group of guys that I went to college with. I wasn't in the league, but I knew of it. And the loser, whoever came in dead last, had to go and take the SATs again.
The SATs again? How do you even do that?
And so they would all show up and take a picture in front of the high school that morning. And one of the guys I remember was like 4 years after college. And I think he was like, he'd been promoted once in an investment bank. Like he was well on the way to his career. And then I saw on LinkedIn, it's him about to take the SATs because he lost.
Oh, man. That reminds me of those like 90s movies. It's like, hello, fellow kids, when you've got the 30-year-old coming into high school again.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
We had a punishment this last year where, unfortunately, I had a buddy who lost 2 years in a row. He did actually just lose 3 times in a row. He had to go to Outback Steakhouse on the day of our draft, and he had to finish an entire Bloomin' Onion by himself until he could join our current draft.
I have one more that's pretty terrible. Have you heard of the IHOP challenge?
I have never heard of this.
You have to go to an IHOP and you are sentenced to 24 hours sitting in IHOP. Because it's always open, right? And you reduce your sentence for every pancake that you can consume. If you eat 4 pancakes, you only have to say 20 hours. If you're able to eat 20 pancakes, you only have to say 4 hours. But you reduce your sentence by each pancake.
Hopefully we don't have any penalties like that if I lose our startup fantasy draft.
From Mostly Media, it's Mostly Growth. Go-to-market strategist Kyle Poyar and CFO CJ Gustafson break down how modern companies make money, covering pricing, monetization, and benchmarks in ways that make you better at your job. Tactics and playbooks for finance, product, and sales operators looking to be the CEO of their role. This is Mostly Growth. All right, quick announcement before we get into the draft. CJ and Kyle have put together 2 different rosters, and we're letting you decide which one is better. Head to CJ or Kyle's LinkedIn, find the post with the roster, and vote in the comments for who you think nailed it. You can also just leave a comment here on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you're listening. Voting is open now, but it closes Monday, February 9th at 9 a.m. Eastern. And yes, there are real stakes. Whoever loses this has to do the Dunkin' Challenge. CJ or Kyle has to sit in a Dunkin' for up to 24 hours, with time knocked off for each donut consumed. So go vote. Make it heard, and now let's draft.
Lay the context for this one. What are we getting into today? What type of company is it, and how are we going about it?
So we want to do this in honor of the Super Bowl. I had this idea that if we're starting our own company, so CJ and I are founding a startup, who would we hire first? When I've talked to CJ about this, he wants a stacked finance team. He wants a controller, an accountant, and an FP&A guy, like a VP of finance. He just wants a whole finance team. And I think we need someone to market and sell the products.
And big important point here. Are we assuming these are all non-technical roles? Like me and you are the technical people. We already have some engineers in-house.
Yeah, let's limit it to non-technical. So just sales, marketing, and back office type functions. No product, no engineering.
So I can't take 10 cracked AI engineers, as they say.
I don't think you know what to do with 10 cracked AI engineers, CJ.
Just have them run around in circles, eating pancakes at IHOP.
You just start using Gen Z slang with them and be like, that's a sleigh. And
6, 7.
2 freaking episodes in a row.
Ahead of this, CJ and I put together a list of potential positions that we can choose from. We'll go through those only as we pick them. But so we know the potential picks that we have. And we're going to collectively pick 5 people per team.
Let's do your top 5 picks.
We're going to have listeners tell us which was the better team. And so you have to weigh in a comment or send us a DM about whether you'd pick CJ's team or my team. Who is going to get to pick first? How are we going to decide this?
How do we settle this? Ben, do you have a coin on you? Do people still carry coins? My daughter asked me for a coin the other day. I was like, well, a what?
It's not a pancake from IHOP?
No, it's something I made with a 3D printer for paddle.
Would you guys run out of budget and only print on one side?
All right, CJ, I'll let you pick as Ben is doing the coin toss.
I'll take the P side.
Ready? It is tails.
Sucks for you, CJ. You were already at a disadvantage to begin with. My number one pick, what am I going to do with this great power? I'm going to go with the marketing Jack or Jill of all trades. Emily Kramer calls them the Gen marketer. The idea here in my thought process is that you really need someone to like test channels to attract customers for the product. You can work on messaging, like outbound campaigns, like standing up a website. Founders should be very involved in doing founder-led sales for the first, at least $500,000 in ARR before you start bringing in other salespeople. But they need some marketing air cover to support them.
I'm actually pissed. That was totally who I was going to take first. And I came up with that term, marketing Jack or Jill of all trades, and you stole it. But
I stole it and I rebranded it. I'm a good marketer.
You're a real piece of work, Kyle. I agree that the sales at first, you should be testing it using the founder because they know the product the best. What I have found founders not as strong at, though, is experimenting with marketing channels, or even just the person who's willing to roll up their sleeves and be like, listen, I can set up the website, and just to jump in there and help them experiment.
Yeah, I can add a book a demo button. I can link that to the calendar. I can have an automated nurture email stream go out, like just all of this blocking and tackling.
People would be surprised at like the low hanging fruit when you're a seed stage startup or even a Series A, like you didn't even create a link for a calendar, but you have all these people like waiting out there. This is where these small marketing acts of I think I'm like call them marketing acts of randomness. Like you actually need them at first.
Oh, yeah, I actually need a marketing automation platform to email these people. I need to follow up with people that don't show up to the demo. Like there's just so much low hanging fruit out there.
I'm going to make a move that is both smart and budget conscious. I'm going to take the founding BDR, Kyle.
Founding BDR. Is this your way of not paying someone well, but just calling them the founding BDR?
If I'm the founder and I'm banging the phones all day, I want somebody to be able to set up the calls and qualify them for me. Because you may be saying this is like the cheapest position out there, but my hourly rate as the founder is the most important to driving this company forward. And if I can make sure that every time I'm on the phone with somebody, they are the right person to be speaking to, and I'm not going down dark alleys, I want the BDR. And I think this whole AI BDR thing is like, I don't want to call it a fad, but like I've not heard anybody jump up and down and be like, this is wildly successful. We stopped hiring former college football players from Bucknell.
No, on this founding BDR, like in your head, what do they look like? Like how much experience do they have?
This is not just somebody out of college who is like, how do I set up my laptop? This is a person who can expand to actually do the eventual sales once it's not just founder-led. So what I don't want is someone who's like, I need to be the account manager. I need to have this very firm like quota and set of goals because we're just figuring shit out here. I need someone who's going to help me stir up opportunities that they will also probably ride shotgun and collaborate on, but to get in front of customers, the right customers, or at least the hottest leads, and to work with, unfortunately, you took them off the board, that marketing Jack or Jill of all trades. So you have somewhat of a unified front.
There's some founders that just are really solid at marketing for their companies. Like they do good social posts, they're on podcasts, they maybe have a good network where they can reach out to people, but having someone that could kind of be like their sales admin that can help with like all the outbound, but then also the setting up the intro call, doing the follow-up, like documenting the sales process. Like they're essentially riding shotgun with the founder across every aspect of revenue generation and documenting it all so that they can bring in other people. And I've often found, that for this person, the promotion path is to AE because they've now trained under the founder. They know the whole sales process cold, and they can graduate to an AE and, bring in more actual BDRs.
And riding shotgun was the exact term that I was thinking about. Like play the Robin to the other person's Batman when you're just figuring it out. What I didn't want to over rotate on is bringing in an AE, and Ethan Schechter, my friend, Sneak, now Kodo. He's like, you don't want that type of person early on who's a stuff guy or girl. Like, where's my stuff? Like, I need everything set up for me to succeed here. I want someone scrappy who wants to get to the next level and is willing to do some of that grunt work to land at least the first 5 or 10 deals.
Hey, thanks for listening. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Here's a growth tax nobody talks about. Every new monetization model you ship creates a nightmare for your finance team. Add usage-based pricing? Now you're tracking consumption against commitments. Launch product bundles? That's multiple performance obligations per contract. Offer mid-cycle upgrades? Woo! Good luck reallocating revenue manually. But that's exactly where RightRev shines. RightRev is the revenue recognition engine built for companies that can't afford to let accounting slow down growth. When your RevRec is automated, your product team can ship new pricing without asking finance for permission. And your sales team can close creative deals without worrying about downstream chaos. To get up on my CFO soapbox for a sec, I love talking about creative pricing models, hybrid pricing, credits, tiered usage. But I've seen too many companies where the sales team is celebrating a huge quarter while finance is still trying to figure out how to recognize half of it. In a world where your pricing model might change 3 times next year, that flexibility is everything. If you want to scale your monetization without breaking your books, visit RightRev.com. That's RightRev.com, where modern monetization meets bulletproof accounting.
Here's a question. When was the last time you really had time to focus on growth and not chasing contract renewals, tracking shadow IT spend, or explaining rising software costs to the board? Yikes! The truth is, traditional spend management is broken. If you're still piecing together data from 5 different systems just to figure out what you're actually spending, while vendors keep on pushing those auto renewals and price hikes, my friend, I got a solution for you. That's where Tropic comes in. Tropic is an intelligent spend management solution that consolidates your spend data and processes into one unified offering, enabling insights and decisive action. It doesn't just show you where the problems are, it helps you solve them. From spotting hidden optimization opportunities like duplicative spend, to automating those painful procurement workflows, to giving you the best market data that turns every vendor negotiation in your favor. Tropic combines smart insights with real human expertise to keep you ahead of the curve. And I can say firsthand because I've used them for over 2 years. Their SaaS platform helps me with price checks. It helps me keep my calendar organized of when renewals are coming up and I can actually visualize it. And let me say, it saves me more than 10 hours a week on vendor management, and we've saved a ton on renewals. I'm walking into the boardroom with a lot more confidence. Isn't it time to turn your spend management into your competitive advantage? Visit tropicapp.io/mostlymetrics. That's tropicapp.io/mostlymetrics.
If you run go-to-market, you already know the problem. Your go-to-market data is everywhere. Ads, CRMs, sales calls, marketing, spreadsheets, but you're still guessing what to do next. HockeyStack is the AI platform for modern go-to-market teams that collects all your customer data and unifies it into a single system of action. Then you deploy AI agents that prospect the right accounts, help reps close and upsell deals, improve forecast accuracy, and automate what's already working across sales and marketing. Instead of running 5-year-old processes manually, your go-to-market team finally has agents that understand your ICP, your funnel, and your buying motion, and they execute on it. That's why teams like RingCentral, Outreach, ActiveCampaign, and even Fortune 100 companies rely on HockeyStack to cut through the noise, eliminate wasted spend, and make better go-to-market decisions faster. That's HockeyStack, the AI platform that helps go-to-market teams make space to think and win.
I've got to think about my second hire here. I'm going to pick a founding AE here, partly to get it off the table for you to not take. I do think that founders, once they have a repeatable sales process, they'll often realize that, they need to scale beyond just themselves. And they probably want to even hire multiple founding AEs to start to see what profiles of AE work well in the business. But in my mind, so you got a founder, they're running a founder-led sales process. You got a gen marketer who's starting to get pipeline for them. You got to have that AE that can, take that pipeline and close it. And they'll probably shadow under the founder for a period of time, but then quickly own their own pipeline.
Kyle, you bring a founding AE in. What do you think that first combo looks like around quota, goal setting?
At least first quarter, but maybe even first half. I don't really think they have a quota. I think it's a salary plus maybe a bonus tied to some sort of like qualitative MBO type of attributes. If I'm that founding AE, like they don't have any concept of what is possible yet. And so like the quota and OT and all of that could either be set like wildly under what's possible or wildly over what's possible. And so it needs to be calibrated. If a founder has gotten to $1 million plus in ARR and like they have a very repeatable pipeline, you could probably set up like that math. But otherwise, I'd probably try to just make it a flat fee. That'll also encourage them to do a lot of the sales documentation, collaborate with the founder before they fully own their own pipeline.
And from the CFO's perspective, that's also why you give the first couple of account executives a decent chunk of equity, right? That's why they're there. They're not there for the base salary.
You also don't have a huge salary to play with. But then once you do have a repeatable sales motion, you do probably want to move to that classic base plus bonus model, maybe 60-40 salary and bonus, and then start to move towards some sort of quota to OTE that is both achievable for the AE, because like you want them to be making real money and motivated to stick around. So it needs to be achievable for the AE and then like reasonably efficient, because you're going to be pitching for your Series A investors or maybe Series B investors as having a healthy revenue model. And that means a healthy CAC payback period. And if you're overpaying your AE relative to what they're bringing in, your model's just going to look really inefficient. And so it's like you want to get to a model that is like somewhat efficient, but still in the AE's favor so that they're singing your praises, convincing every one of their AE friends to join too.
That's a good point, because that's usually where the next couple of AEs come from, their friends.
Exactly. Or they're going to back channel. And like, if there's no chance to make money in selling this product, it's going to be really hard to recruit good people. All right. Who's your pick number 2?
I'm going to go with a product marketing manager, Kyle.
Interesting. Not demand gen, product marketing.
We had demand gen on last week, actually. So I'm going to take the product marketing manager because, let's face it, there's not a ton of revenue yet, and you're trying to work on your product story, which will inform what your total addressable market is, who your ICP is, and is going to make my job a lot easier of telling the financial story later on. But you really do have to figure out the story around your product and get that out into the world.
I will say I rarely see people hiring product marketing before hiring demand gen.
Yeah, well, Navy still runs a wishbone offense, so...
I guess the reason I rarely see it is because the founder is kind of the product marketer in chief at this point. Like they know their target audience really well. They know how to talk about the product. They've had all the sales calls. They've maybe not gotten that on the website as well as they could have, but it's in their head.
Some founders, though, they have all this gold nuggets, but they can't spin it into a coherent story, or like when this story hits somebody's eyeballs, how should they perceive it? Because they're not going to read it like you are. You have to pitch it in a commercially minded way, not just an investor, give me $100 million way, which I find are two different things.
An evil genius or misguided. All right, I'll go with my third pick, the founding customer success person.
Oh, a few. Okay.
Rationale here. So I'm starting to get customers. I really want my customers to have an incredible experience so that my retention rate's as high as possible. I can sell them more stuff. I can also get better feedback about the product. Plus, with customer success, like I think that there's also an opportunity increasingly for that role to have some forward deployed elements to it, delivering some level of customer success or like some expertise from people that know your product and your customers. You're bringing that experience like before you've even sold someone.
I agree. I kind of also argue, though, isn't it everybody's responsibility to be doing customer success at first?
Well, it's going to be really hard for your founding BDR to be a good customer success manager. People are going to be doing customer success, but this is someone that just becomes a true product expert and is motivated around customers hitting certain milestones with the product.
I see your customer success manager and I raise you first business hire.
Interesting.
This is a term that I did not invent, but I'm going to act like I invented it. This is someone scrappy, can basically do some finance stuff, some accounting stuff, some RevOps stuff, and can also build the pitch deck for the founder. They can do the board slides for the founder. They're the person who, when you need to know what the ARR number is in the company, they're the source of truth for it. So every company has this person early on. Could be 5 people, could be 50 people, but Ryan's the one who gives us the ARR at the end of the period. Some of you probably nodding your head like, yeah, that's Jack at my company or Jill at my company. The first business hire helps the founder take care of all the stuff that has to happen just to make sure that the business has enough cash and not burning through it, can work with a fractional accounting firm and just make sure that you're a going concern. And like I said, you don't run out of money.
For listeners, we did not include a chief of staff role on this list, but I think of like the chief of staff as kind of increasingly this role.
I bring it up too, Kyle, because I think 10 years ago, somebody would have said, I'm hiring a controller here, or I'm hiring an FP&A manager. But now I think you can go a lot further with third-party resources, and you just want someone who can build something in Excel. Like, companies take for granted, if you haven't been in the shoes before, of like just having someone who can spin up a quick scenario in Excel that you can flex just to say, is this a good price point? Like, can we even do this? Or are we going to lose money if we sell the product this way?
This is the person who's the catch-all for all of the like what if things, and then can also just own a lot of the, you know, operational execution. Hey, we have a revenue plan for at least the next like 3 months or 6 months. There's a quota in place for the sales rep. The role is really clear to me, but the title's not clear.
Same here. I don't know what else to call it though, but I don't think it's a core accounting role anymore. And I don't think it's like a core finance role anymore. You're taking on the business responsibilities. So the technical people can do technical stuff, and so the sales people can sell stuff.
Just to refresh listeners, I have my gen marketer, I've got my founding AE, got a customer success person. I am going to go with a RevOps hire next. The way I think of RevOps is like part RevOps, part go-to-market engineer. And so the rationale there is like you need someone to own like the tech stack, the tools, the processes, the automations. And increasingly go-to-market is automation heavy. Like we're running AI assisted plays, whether it's around our content creation or outbound messaging or target account list. This is like the person that knows the stack cold and make sure we have a good like tech stack for go-to-market set up, and they can start to run automations, and they also have enough business sense that they can take on some of the first business hire things that you've described. So it's kind of like hybrid of first business hire plus like go-to-market engineer in my mind.
I see what you're doing, because go-to-market engineer is on the list, and I just took first business hire. So you're slippery.
I'm trying
fellow.
to find like that in between. Maybe it's cheating a little bit, but RevOps is like inherently a cross-functional role. Like RevOps people kind of do a lot of everything.
I have to say, if you don't set up the CRM right, even if you're using like HubSpot when you start out, you're in for a rude awakening. Like once you hit 10 million.
Exactly. And this is a person that like will have the numbers so that for the board meeting, it's like, hey, what's our pipeline?
All right, Kyle, I'm going to use my phone a friend here. You use yours on your RevOps person. That was total bullshit. I'm going to phone my friend, Benny Beverages, who's been a long-time user of SaaS.
I've been dealing a lot with customer support lately, and let me tell you, I hate AI chat. The AI support chats are absolutely atrocious. I just asked a question to Spotify that I asked the same question 4 times in a row, and they asked other clarifying questions. I was like, this is clearly not a person. I don't know if this is a good investment, but it's going to make my life easier. I think you got to get a customer support person.
I have to agree with Ben here, because the number of hours he's spent with Riverside support, Substack support, and Spotify support in the last 2 weeks, Kyle, it's really eating up our productivity here at this company.
Yeah, I need like a cheat code for getting past the AI. It's like there's sometimes when it is helpful, but other times you're like, I don't want to say the same thing like 10 times. Just take me to your leader.
0, 0, person 0.
The good thing in this day and age with the customer support role is because there is so much opportunity with AI customer support, I do think you need a person that owns that and can set up the support systems and like the help desk articles, because you can't bring in a AI unless you have actually good documentation. And so you need someone solid to build that out.
There have definitely been times where AI chat has been like better at just, navigating me to the right support doc. But I think sometimes there's nuance that's just like, I need to talk to a person.
Couldn't agree more.
I've got my 5th pick, and I'm going to throw a bone to CJ. I'm going to take a fractional accounting firm. First, not really finance hire, but close enough to a hire, because we're going to pay them like it's a hire. I need someone to run the books for me.
I can't tell if this is a compliment to me or you're just doing it to piss me off, so I can't take it with my last pick. I'm flattered,
I'm surprised
Kyle.
your first 4 picks were anyone in finance.
I got 4 people in accounts payable. I've seen companies now get to, and people are going to say this is BS, $50 million on a third-party outsourced firm, which I think is absolutely bonkers compared to 10 years ago.
Increasingly, folks are saying we're going to take really core roles and bring them in-house. And then if it's not core to our business, we're going to outsource it. I think there's a lot more of that happening. And so maybe it's because of the bragging around like ARR per FTE and the workaround that comes with outsourcing something. But I also think people just like don't want to have big back office functions if they can bring in a combination of tools and vendors.
There also isn't enough things for someone to do who's all they know is accounting or finance, right? Early on. I don't think that happens until past Series B, unless it's like a five-way marketplace or it's an incredibly complex fintech company. It's very rare to see the CFO title thrown around before Series B, Series C.
Well, definitely would not hire a CFO at that stage. If I was going to hire a finance person, I'd probably do a head of finance, but give them like people and give them some ops stuff too. All right, who's your last pick? Bring us home, CJ.
I can't believe this is still on the board. This is the value pick of them all. I'm going to take the demand gen IC. You were making fun of me earlier for not taking them with my first or second pick, Kyle. They're on the board, baby.
Wow, you brought on a second marketer. I don't think this would have ever been a thing until, this podcast. You got introduced to marketers and now you're hooked.
I did. Everybody owns pipeline around here, Kyle.
But you don't have any salespeople on your team, just to be clear. I guess you have your founding BDR who you're hoping is going to become a salesperson.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that the founder is gonna carry a bag to get us to at least 3 to 5 million in ARR, and then I'll reevaluate. But I do have to say, you taking the founding AE as the second pick, that did block some of what I wanted to do here.
Maybe that also can work if you got some self-serve like PLG going. I don't know what the founding BDR would be doing for that, but that could help out with not having an AE.
I got a team of kickers. We can hit 63-yard field goals. We're not going to throw the ball. We're going to run it and we're going to kick it, but we're going to win, Kyle.
Please chime in with who you think has the better team. Some of the roles that we did not pick: GTM engineer, sales VP, marketing VP, events marketing, controller, finance VP, and a head of BizOps and strategy.
Kyle, I mean, as someone who feels so strongly about the go-to-market engineer, I see it all over LinkedIn. Tell us why you didn't pick that.
Because they are unicorn candidates that I think of today as essentially either working at Clay or an agency supported by Clay. And I think there's a lot of opportunity this go-to-market engineering movement is bringing up. But I think the movement doesn't necessarily mean we need to hire someone, and certainly not hire someone as like one of our first 5 picks. I think that increasingly a lot of these capabilities can be done by less technical folks. Like you shouldn't necessarily need an engineer to run automated go-to-market plays and bring AI into your go-to-market. So love the concept, but I'm not sold on needing a full-time hire just yet.
Next up, we have got pricing in the real world. It's time for some super examples.
So we talked before about the economics of Super Bowl ads and whether it was worth it. And I thought it was really cool that Zach from Row talked about the journey running their first Super Bowl ad and how expensive it was. Did you see this, CJ?
Yeah, it was really good. It's with Serena Williams, right?
So Zach shared that the 30-second ad is going to cost about $7 to $10 million. He expects like production and talent to be another $2 to $10 million. But then for every dollar you spend on the Super Bowl ad, I guess you have to pay for that ad space on other properties too, so that they can essentially like cross-sell you other ad spots. So you got another $7 to $10 million in committed media spend. That means you're looking all in at $15 to $30 million in spend just for a Super Bowl ad. The points he made were that if you're spending 150 million on marketing, like, there's a cap of how much you're going to spend. And then there's asymmetric upside, just given the reach of this, the halo effect around it, the opportunity to drive much more efficiency in any advertising going forward. His view was, hey, look, there's a limited downside if it goes wrong, but like really substantial upside if it goes right. And there's not that many other things you can do with that type of asymmetric upside opportunity.
2 points that stuck out to me. The first was, this is an event that people actually watch it to watch the ads, right? Most things you watch on TV, you try to get away from the ads. This is pretty much the only event that the ads itself are a draw. So you get more eyeballs on it. And the second thing, this made my finance heart weep. It was so beautiful, is he looked at it as a portfolio of bets. He said it would be absolutely nuts if this is our only marketing spend that we had. But if you size it into t-shirt sizes, like this is a small t-shirt, there's a medium t-shirt, this would be like the XL t-shirt of whatever you're spending your marketing dollars on this year. And if it did go to zero, like you said, it is capped at least with some downside, but you're doing other stuff.
This is being the only channel that people watch it for the ads is interesting because the ads in the Super Bowl, like they'll be ranked by people. There'll be TikToks about your favorite ads. Like people will proactively search YouTube just to figure out what ads you're running. Like there's something about the exposure here that ends up just meaning a lot more engagement than if you were to just put money, that same amount of money in other types of media.
All right, well, I got one for you too, Kyle. It's called bonus in the real world. So did you know that for every game that you win in the playoffs, you get a bonus?
I did not know that. Interesting.
People think that like every player in the NFL makes tens of millions of dollars a year. There are a couple players in each team, but a lot of them make like maybe the practice squad players, I think they make like $100,000 a year. The, people who have just made the cut, maybe they're on special teams, maybe they're making $500,000. So they're making decent money, but they're not making superstar dollars. And you also usually have like a life of 3 to 4 years max in the NFL. You get a bonus for each round that you get through. So if you get through the wild card round, you make $59,000. Then you get to the divisional round, you get another $59,000. So now you're at like $118,000. Then if you get to the conference championship, you get another $80,000. So now you're at almost $200,000. And then if you win the Super Bowl, you get another $178,000. So you can walk away with like $375,000, $400K in bonuses as a player.
What I like about it is that there was already a ton of, personal interest in making the playoffs and doing well. But this just like gets the whole team fired up. And I like that these bonuses are like across all players. Like they're not like more money to a specific player, although maybe the superstars make even more than this.
And some players do have in their own personal contracts, if I win a Super Bowl, I get this bonus, similar to how if I get 12 sacks in a season, I get a spot bonus for it. But this is paid for by the NFL's Player Association. There are 53 people on a roster, Kyle. So for spots, call it 40 to 53. This is real tangible dollars, and it's the same amount for every player. If you're Patrick Mahomes and you're making he'll probably make like $50 million a year next year, something crazy like that. Okay, this is like ashtray money, and maybe you go on vacation with it. But if you're the guy who's, tackling people on punt returns, you can walk away with an extra $375K. That's awesome.
Thanks everyone for listening. And again, let us know what you think of our startup fantasy draft picks in the comments.
Go Pats.
All right, now that you've seen the draft, it's on you. CJ and Kyle have locked in their rosters, and your vote decides the winner. Head to CJ or Kyle's LinkedIn, find the post with the roster, and vote in the comments for who you think won. You can also just leave a comment here on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you're listening. Voting is open now, but it closes Monday, February 9th at 9 a.m. Eastern. And remember, whoever loses is spending serious time at Dunkin' courtesy of the internet, up to 24 hours with time knocked off for every donut consumed. So don't just listen, vote, pick a side, and we'll see who's ordering donuts for survival. Mostly Growth is a Mostly Media production. Executive produced by Ben Hillman. That's me. Additional production by Steve Sarasoli. Nothing said on this podcast is intended to be business or investment advice. It's the sole opinion of CJ, Kyle, and Ben. Just some guys who love talking growth. Mostly. If you like this podcast, hit subscribe and give us 5 stars. It'll only take like 2 seconds and our algorithm overlords love it. Drink water, call your mom, and have a great day.